Okay, guys, this is going to be a video that's going to have an assortment or a combination of different skills all in one video. So make sure that you email me if you're confused or lost on anything. So let's just talk about what's going to be on your exam tomorrow. So remember that I passed out this particular paper in class, and you can find these worksheets online. So remember, you have to be able to order decimals from least to greatest, or see who's bigger and who's smaller. You also need to be able to round decimals to the nearest hundredth or tenths or 10,000ths. So make sure you know the place value of your numbers, okay? Like I said, number 1 and number 2, I'm not going to ask a question like that, but you must be able to convert decimals to fractions. So just to go over that real quick, I'm going to do an example. Please know, and I hope this is a clear audio, please know that I have uploaded a link that's to a software called CUDA software. They have free worksheets under the pre-algebra. I want you to focus on the arithmetic box. So again, let me say it one more time. There is a link in the week 3 folder that has a bunch of free worksheets that you can try and practice, and the solutions are the last 1 or 2 pages. So they have stuff about converting fraction to decimal, decimal to fraction. They have things about multiplying decimals, adding and subtracting decimals. So feel free to do additional worksheets or practice on the CUDA software website. Okay, so how to change a decimal into a fraction. Okay, so again, I'm just going to jump around off of these worksheets. So if you want to go from a decimal to a fraction, then the method I was showing in class is called first name over last name. So the way that works, we'll look at an example. So the first name, okay, the first name is the number you see that just pops out at you without the decimal, without the 0. So the number you see. And the last name is the last place value in the number. Okay, I'm going to slide up for a second. So let's look at this number 3. So if I was trying to change a number like 0.572, if I was trying to change that into a fraction, I would look at this number, and the number that jumps out to me is right here, this 572. That is my numerator, the number I see. So I have 572 over. The last name, again, is going to be the last place value in this number. So this is the tenths, this is the hundredths, and this is the thousandths. So I'm going to put 1,000 at the bottom. And then now that you have that numerator and denominator, well, now we have to reduce it. So they're both even. So let's first half in the bottom, which is 500. Then we're going to do our little scratch work for 572. Goes in there 2 times, 4, 1, bring down. Okay, so here I get 286 is half of that. Then we'll half in it again for 250. The bottom is pretty straightforward, but now I'm going to divide by 2 here. 2 goes in there once, then it would go in there 4 times, 3. 143 is the final answer because 143 is a prime number. So again, make sure that whatever the number is, I don't care if there is like an 8, a 9, a 7, you write all those digits up in the numerator, and then you look at the last place value, put it down at the bottom, and then you must, again, simplify or reduce all fractions. And when I was doing my grading last night, the one thing I saw is some people are not simplifying and reducing the fractions, so be very careful with that. Okay, so again, if you want to go from a decimal to a fraction, use this method. Okay, remember that if you want to do the opposite, right? So if you want to do fraction to decimal, which is a really big deal on this test, fractions converting to decimals, remember you do TBO, which again stands for the top number goes inside, the bottom goes out. So top in, bottom out, and so that means you're going to be doing the division cycle. So once you do the division of the denominator going into the numerator, then you're going to get a decimal. All right, so let's do one of those. So let's look at number, I guess I'll do number 11 because it looks kind of scary. Okay, so there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 zeros. So I have 137 divided by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 zeros. So this is 100,000. So I'm going to do T-bow. So the top number, which is my numerator, is going to go inside. Bottom is going to go out. So I'm going to put this 100,000 out here. Okay, and as you can see, this is a very big number dividing into a smaller number. So our number is going to get significantly smaller. It's going to get very small, okay, because the number is so large at the bottom. So the first thing is we know that we cannot go into 137. So we need help. So we put our decimal in our 0, which helps us to send infinite number of zeros for help. So as soon as I put that decimal in 0, I'm going to move the decimal up to show my separation. 100,000 cannot go into 137, so I put a 0 there. 100,000 cannot go into 1,300, so I'll put another 0 here. Okay, and if you want to see a little bit more steps, I would do 100,000 times 0, subtract for 137, bring down. Again, I couldn't do that. 100,000 into the 13,000 or 1,370. So then here, put another 0, okay, because I can't go into here. And then from there, I'd multiply, subtract, and I bring another 0 down. So I'm getting a little bit larger. So this is 13,700, which again still wouldn't work. So I'm going to extend my line, put a 0 there, subtract 0, and then I would do 13,700, but I would add another 0 until this number gets big enough to where it would work. So as you can see now, we're going to do 100,000 going into 137,000, okay? And it would go in there one time, okay? Because 2 times would give me 200,000. So we'd put a 1, okay? Then we would subtract. So I'm going to come over here just for a second. And I have that 173,000 minus 100,000 will give me 37,000. Which we still couldn't do that, right? So once we have this, subtract, we would bring down another 0. So I am adding another 0 here. I'm going to bring it down, so it's going to drop down into my answer. Okay, and then we would do 3. Okay, so you get the point, right? Then we would subtract this from 300,000 and get 70,000. And then eventually we would finally add one more 0. Put a 0 over here, and it would go in there 7 times and leave no remainder. So the answer to this one, as you can see, is 0.00137. All right, and again, one trick I showed in class, just so you know, is if you have nice even 0 numbers like 100, 1,000, 10,000, 100,000, with the zeros, you just write the number. So I'm going to see if I can do it sideways here. You just write the number 137. The decimal is in the back, and like I said, because we are dividing by such a big number, our number is going to get smaller. So I'm going to count how many zeros are in here. There is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 zeros. So I'm going to actually swing forward, because when I swing a decimal to the left, forward, it's going to make my number smaller. So I'm going to swing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Right here I'd put a decimal, then I would just add in those zeros. And so there's the final answer too. So if you can remember this is a trick, dividing by, places of 10 or 100 or 1,000 or 10,000. But if, sorry students, if you want to go through the steps, then you do your T-bow. All right, good deal. So that's how you go from, again, a decimal to a fraction. Use first name, last name. And here is how you go from a fraction to a decimal. You do T-bow. All right, so as we go through the worksheet, remember, you have to know how to convert a decimal to a fraction, first name, last name. You have to know how to do a fraction to a decimal, okay? Mixed numbers, pretty straightforward. This one, you write the 43 because that's the whole piece. That's the big piece. then you do kind of, you know, first name, last name, because they want a mixed number, which is a fraction. So I see a 7, it's in the tens place, and then that's how you make a mixed number. So pretty straightforward there. Okay, same thing for this one. You'd write a big 5, you would write 123 over. This 3 is in the tenths, hundreds, thousands, 10,000ths place. Okay, 123 is a prime number, so you cannot reduce or simplify this fraction. All right, good deal. So that takes care of majority of everything on this worksheet. Knowing if a number is bigger or greater. Again, just make very careful how you look at the decimals. So of course this number is the larger one. Okay, and we did most of those in class, so I'm going to move on. Another skill that you have to be able to do is you must be able to multiply decimals, right? And again, we talked about for multiplying decimals, you have to swing, okay? So I'm going to do 2 examples of this. So in doing 2 examples of this, right, I'm going to do number 8. So if I have 4.32, and I'm multiplying that by 2.34, okay? So remember, the way that it works is this one's value, this hundredths value gets multiplied by each number. Okay, so 4 times 2 is 8, 4 times 3 is 12, carry the 1, 16 plus 1, 17. Then you put a 0 to help with your place value, and then you come back to your tens place and multiply this way. It's going to look kind of messy, okay? But 3 times 2 is 6, 3 times 3 is 9, 3 times 4 is 12. Then in the next one, we're going to put 2 zeros. Now we come this way. 2 times 2, 2 times 3, 2 times 4. So we get 4, 6, 8. Be very careful with how you line everything up. After you do your multiplication, okay, you add down. So we would get 8, 8, 9 plus 7 is 16, 16 plus 4 is 20, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 8, 9, 10. Okay, and the last step, of course, and again, I know it's really messy, but there were 2 places to bring out this decimal. So I'm going to swing 1, 2. I'm going to swing out of this one, 1, 2. It all combines together. We add them, and then we swing into the final answer. So imagine they're coming out, they're coming into the answer. We're going to swing 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, right here. So the final answer to number 8 is 10.1088. Okay, pretty straightforward for the swinging. Okay, make sure that you know the area of a rectangle, which is, so area of a rectangle is A equals length times width, and that's pretty straightforward, okay, as far as that. And let's see, next worksheet. Of course, know how to divide decimals. So for the division of decimals, we do TIBO, okay, top and bottom out. So let me do one example of this. I'm going to do number 11, which is this one right here, okay. So let's switch papers real quick. So if I do 45.3 divided by 0.001, and I'm going to just make this mention like I did in class, which is when you divide a number by a smaller number, okay, when you divide a number, so let's say in this case divided by, this is a smaller number, right, because this is 1,000th, okay, when you do that, you are going to make the number will get larger, and I will prove that to you now, okay. So I'm going to do my TIBO. So I'm going to do the 45.3 being divided by 0.001, and whatever the number of swings are here, you want to swing that same amount inside So we're going to swing 1, 2, 3.